Let's take a look at how we can add extensions to our chord voicings. So the way I view extensions is basically like icing on a cake, or you can even think of a chord structure as like a duplex. A lot of times people get really intimidated when they see a complex chord. So for example, if I asked somebody to play, or if you saw on a lead sheet, G13 flat 9, you're like, oh, geez, what was that? What was that voicing I learned in that book or a long time ago, or what did my teacher show me? Really what that chord is all about is kind of like a duplex. You have two stories, if you will. The top level are the extensions. That's just kind of like the decorations of the house. But the foundation of that chord, G13 flat 9, that's short for G dominant 13. So the first floor of this duplex, the foundation of this chord, is a G dominant 7. That's the foundation. So that means the first floor of that chord is going to be G7 guide tones. Then everything on the second floor will be your extensions. So in the way that we're breaking down the guitar here, again, we're still going to keep our roots on the low 2 strings. Our guide tones will still be in the middle, and our extensions will be in the top 2 strings. So let's take a look at a C major 9, for example. A C major 9 is essentially a C major 7 chord with a 9th on top. So if we're to think about our duplex, here's the C major 7. That chord can be reduced to a C major 7, and then on top we have a 9th. So we're just going to organize it in this way. We're going to keep our C on root 5. Our guide tones will still be in the 2 middle strings. And then we add the 9th on one of the 2 high strings. It's either going to be on the B or the high E string. So the 9th would be a D. If C is 1, then 2 is 9, so it would be a D. And there's your D right there in the 3rd fret B string. So now we have this voicing. And you may be familiar with that voicing for a C major 9, but I think what's very important in this concept is to recognize it kind of on 2 levels. Here's your first floor, the foundation C major 7, and then the top floor is the extension, the 9th. So for example, if we have a C dominant 9, simply just a C9, then the 9 doesn't move at all. What's changing is the first floor, that foundation of the guide tones. So now we get into our C7 guide tone shapes. But the 9th is still in the same place. So again, this is a profoundly important concept. You have an understanding, like an arranger's understanding of where each note is in the voicing, the function of each note. So there's your guide tones for dominant, and then the 9th is on top. And this will really come in handy when you start altering these extensions. So for example, if we were going to convert this C9 into a C7 sharp 9, then you know the C7 is not going to change at all. The only thing that changes in this chord voicing is the 9 will be sharped. So you just move it up a half step. There it is, C7 sharp 9. And the same is true for a C7 flat 9. You just start off with your 9, you lower that, put that on top of your C7 guide tone voicing, and there it is. It would be the same type of thinking with a root 6 chord. So if we go up to our C major 7, now in the same way that you notice when you practice your root 5 and root 6 guide tone voicings, the guide tones themselves flip. The same thing happens with the extensions. So with your extensions, the 9th is going to be on one string, and then the 11th or 13th will be on the other string. So down here with our root 5 C major 7, the 9th was on the 5th string, the B string. Sorry, 2nd string. If we move to a root 6 guide tone voicing, now the 9th D will be up on the high E string, the 1st string. So that's just something that you'll recognize. So again, if we were going to move to our C9, C dominant 9, we'll get our C7 foundation here, and the 9th is in the same place. And then if we alter those, we raise or lower those by a half step, now we have C7 sharp 9 and C7 flat 9. Because we have 2 open strings to work with, now we can add up to 2 extensions to these guide tones. So let's go back to our initial intimidating chord shape, our chord voicing of what would we do for a G13 flat 9. Well, again, that G13 flat 9 could be reduced to just a G7, a G dominant 7. So if we could get our root 6 G7 happening, so now we have 1 flat 7 3. Then we'll add a 13 and a flat 9. It's really that simple. It's just like adding it on the roof of this foundation. So a 13 would be an E. There it is. And then a flat 9 would be an A flat. And then there's the A flat up there. So you put them all together on top of the guide tones, and you have this. If you wanted to explore another voicing for that, you could go up here and play this G7. And again, the extensions will flip just like the guide tones did. So now your flat 9 will be on the B string. A flat is there. And then the 13, the high E, will be up here. So you play those on top of the guide tones, and it will sound like this. So now you have two very usable voicings for any of these chords. But again, the most important thing here is that you understand the function of all of these internal guide tones as well as the extensions on top, so that you can move them and kind of thread through a progression, being cognizant of the tones at play, just like a piano player might work, or you could think of as an arranger. An arranger might write lines flowing through the progression, and using this system will enable you to think that way. And just also, it's very pragmatic, because looking looking ahead at other techniques that you can use in fingerstyle jazz guitar, using this system will really support, for example, a walking bass line and guide tones type of system. If you have something like this. Now you're using the same exact physical layout. You're using a walking bass line on the bottom two strings, guide tones with or without extension on the middle strings. If you wanted to, play a melody and then comp, now you're focusing on the melody on the top two strings, or the extensions on the top two strings there, and then still using the two middle strings to comp. So, for example, we could have something like, voice-led 2-5, D minor, G7, the sharp 5 to C major 9. With the roots,